Welcome back to Teenage Nightmares, the place that drags you deeper into the world of the unknown. Tonight's story takes us back to 2005, where we uncover the chilling tale of a creepy mortuary. So, get comfortable, put on your headphones, and prepare yourself for a Teenage Nightmares original, The Mortuary. Hello, my name is Dale, and this story takes place in the winter of 2005. I had just started working at a local mortuary. My job was simple: make the recently deceased look their best. The pay was good, and it was oddly peaceful. Everything had been fine until one rainy night. It was around 9 p.m., and I was hanging out in the small studio above the mortuary. I was allowed to use the space to cook, use the bathroom, or just unwind. The rain tapped softly against the windows as I settled onto the worn couch, a book in hand, ready to relax after a long day. But barely 5 minutes into my reading, I heard a strange noise coming from the bathroom. It was faint at first, almost like a low shuffle, but it made the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. I gathered what little courage I had and slowly approached the bathroom door. It took a few seconds, but I finally opened it, revealing an empty space. I let out a quiet sigh of relief, telling myself it was probably just the weather causing those noises. I turned and made my way back to the worn-out sofa. I knew I'd be here for a while, waiting for the body to arrive at 1 a.m., so I grabbed a bag of trail mix and settled back into my book, trying to ignore the unsettling silence. The studio itself was eerie, with yellow lighting casting a sickly hue over the room. The partly torn wallpaper peeled away to reveal smoke-stained yellow walls, adding to the uncomfortable vibe. It was more intense than the mortuary. At least there, I found a sense of peace. The one upside to the studio was that I could stretch out on the comfy sofa and try to relax, so I spent most of my downtime there. The job itself was simple, but it could be mentally draining at times, constantly surrounded by death, so a little downtime was needed. It's not that I was afraid of the dead. It was more the constant exposure to death and the grief of others that took its toll on me. I spent the next half hour trying to relax, but the unsettling feeling of being watched clung to me like a shadow. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the dim studio light seemed to echo that unshakable paranoia. Finally, I gave up and headed back to the mortuary. I told myself it was practical. I had some cleaning to finish down there after all, but deep down, I knew the truth. I needed to escape the oppressive atmosphere of that studio. A soft set of footsteps echoed behind me as I moved from room to room, tidying up in the dim, silent mortuary. Whatever I had felt watching me in the studio, it was here, with me, in a mortuary of all places. This wasn't just a bad dream. It was anyone's worst nightmare, and I was living it. I didn't dare turn around to see what was behind me. My instinct screamed to keep moving, so I headed straight for the main office, hoping to calm myself in the process. Sitting near the main entrance felt safer, close enough to escape if I needed to. I parked myself at the desk, trying to steady my nerves as the minutes dragged into hours. Eventually, the body I had been waiting for arrived. The coroner wheeled in a John Doe, found deceased in a park. It was supposed to be just another routine autopsy, or so I thought. The coroner left as quickly as he had come, leaving me alone with the body. Normally, the dead didn't bother me, but tonight was different. With everything that had happened, unease ran through me as I stared at the lifeless form in front of me. Something just felt wrong as soon as he was wheeled into the mortuary. Nonetheless, I forced myself to prepare my tools. My hands trembled as I gathered everything I needed, trying to focus on the routine. But then I heard it, bone-chilling laughter. It was coming from the direction of the body on the mortuary table. My heart plummeted like a stone, cold and heavy in my chest. This wasn't normal. This wasn't possible. Something was wrong. Terribly, horribly wrong. The air in the room felt oppressive, charged with a presence I couldn't see but could feel down to my very bones. Whatever was here with me wasn't just unnatural, it was unholy, and I knew, without a doubt, it meant me harm. I turned slowly toward the John Doe, every nerve in my body screaming at me not to look, but I had to see. What I saw was something straight out of a nightmare. The corpse's eyes were no longer closed. They were wide open, darting frantically around the room as if searching for something or someone. A blood-curdling scream tore from my throat as I bolted for the exit. My heart pounded like a drum as I sprinted through the darkened halls, but then I heard it, wet footsteps, heavy, uneven, and fast. I reached the main office, threw open the door, and stumbled outside. Gasping for breath, I spun around, expecting to see it standing there, but nothing. The doorway was empty, the hall behind it silent. Was my mind playing tricks on me? Had I just let my fears spiral out of control? I forced myself to steady my breathing. I had a job to do, a responsibility to uphold. No matter what I thought I'd seen, I couldn't abandon my duties. Swallowing my fear, I marched back inside, convincing myself that whatever just happened was nothing more than an overactive imagination. But deep down, a part of me wasn't so sure. I stepped back into the room, and to my relief, the John Doe's eyes were once again closed. It gave me a brief sense of comfort. I told myself I was just tired, that the fear and stress had gotten the best of me, and that I had probably imagined the whole thing. I started my work, trying to focus on the routine. About 20 minutes later, I caught a glimpse of someone standing in the doorway out of the corner of my eye. My heart skipped a beat, and I jumped back terrified. But when I looked again, the doorway was empty. I shook my head in disbelief. I did it again, I muttered to myself, trying to rationalize what I'd just seen. But then, just as I convinced myself it was nothing, I felt a cold, clammy hand grab my arm. The grip tightened, shaking me violently. I froze, my heart racing, unsure of what to do. Then it smiled at me. I broke. Tears streamed down my face as I turned and bolted from the room. I couldn't do it anymore. I ran out of that mortuary, through the halls, and straight to my car. I was almost in the driver's seat when I stopped, a sickening feeling rising in my chest. I turned to glance back at the mortuary entrance, and there he was, standing in front of it, the John Doe, still smiling, that same sinister smile. The next morning, I called my boss and quit. He didn't ask why. All he asked was, what happened to the body that was dropped off? I asked him what he meant, and he told me he couldn't find it anywhere. It's been 19 years, and I haven't been back. I don't know what happened to John Doe, and frankly, I don't want to. I'm just glad I got out of there alive. To this day, I don't know what really happened that night. Did the thing I heard in the studio somehow jump into the John Doe? I don't know, but it's the only explanation that makes sense to me. So to Mr. John Doe, wherever you are, I hope I never see you again.